Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Dewey the Duelist, and I am doing a deck profile today on Clown Crew True Draco in Genesys. Yesterday I won this very cool match by going undefeated at our OTS Yu-Gi-Oh! Day Genesys tournament. And so timestamps are in the description if you want to click ahead to whatever you find most interesting, but I'll talk briefly about my matchups. I'll go through this paper deck list of exactly what I played yesterday. I'll talk about some specific card interactions and things to know if you're playing this list. And then in the end, I will also post a updated deck list with a filled out extra and side deck that I think you could take to a big tournament. I will say this win feels pretty crazy because I didn't know we were doing Genesys yesterday. It's on me. I didn't look at the Discord. And so when I walked in, I had to fix my deck list in like 5 minutes to bring it under 100 points. So many thanks to my locals friend Torin, who helped me figure out what to cut and who suggested this kaiju package to fill out my 5 open slots. You are a real one. My matchups were, in this order, Goaty. I did get my whole field banished by Deep Beyond, ow. Despia Dark Lord, also got my whole field nuked by their big fusion. Giant Ballpark Insect, that was a fun surprise. It turns out they don't activate a lot of card effects, so my True Dracos were pretty dead. And then finally Satellar Knights in the finals, and the new cards are very strong, and my Kaijus carried the day. So, this, again, is my first Genesys deck profile. Tell me if you like the way I'm calling out the point values or if you think there's a better way to do it. So right now, this list is sitting right at 96 points. And because I didn't have time, I played this tournament with a 9-card extra deck and no side deck, which actually made our matches go a little faster because I never sided. So not a flex, just a little bit of luck. And I think the engine piece of this deck, because it's so heavy, does a lot of the heavy lifting. So without further ado, let's jump in. Let's do the Clown Crew stuff first. So 3 Biancaviso, not surprising. He is worth 1 point, so there's 3 points right at the top. Playing 3 Flare, playing 3 Rehearsal, and I'll talk more about each of these cards at the end after I've showed you what all is in here. Matinee is 20 points, so we just played one of those. Some people think that's correct. I played 3 Malabarism. That is 10 points each. Some people only play 2. And then I played 2 Soiree Operations and 1 New Face. So none of these cards down here are pointed, but these are 3, that's 20, and these are 10 points apiece. Next, let's do the True Draco stuff. So Draconic Diagram, also 10 points, so that's gonna go in this pile. 3 Draco Awakening. This is one of the newer cards for True Draco. It's a Searcher. Also has another effect we'll talk about later. This is my heaviest point investment, 1 Masterpiece. He did come in clutch. He, especially in a simplified game state, is just so broken. Also, if you are banishing either your Operatics or your New Face, you can just get them back. Sorry, your Operatics, you can get it back with New Face. You only have 1 New Face, so you can't do that. Okay, and then I played 2 each of Maiden, Ignis Heat, and Dynamite Knight. These guys are all usually searching for different pieces to get each other on the field, which is really nice. And then in terms of my True Draco Spell Trap lineup, that is not these, I played 3 Heritage, 2 Disciples, 2 Apocalypse, and 1 True King's Return. And then finally, let me move this over here. For my last 5 slots, thank you, Torn, for suggesting this, because I had very little points left. I played 2 Kaiju Slumber, no points, and then 1 each of Humongous, Thunder King, and Dogoran. What's really important if you play Kaiju Slumber is to play guys with different attack stats, so that you can always give your opponent one with less attack than you have. And different names is also important, because if you have to summon ones with different names. So it's always live unless you've somehow drawn 2 names, but if you do that, you can just summon one to your opponent's field and then summon the other one to your field. So that is the main deck. So there's just a few things I want to call out in this main deck. But first, let's do our side. The extra for this was really simple because I didn't have time to do anything else. So it is just 3 Meteor, 3 Fiends, and 3 Diabolo. I have some additional ideas at the end that I'll tell you about how to fill all of this out. But these carried the day. They're all I needed. So put him like this. So now let's talk about some different cards and what you should know about them. I'll start actually with the extra. Meteor is like the strongest card in the deck. It's branded Lost. It makes all of your tribute summons and everything that comes in the chain after unrespondable. So often what I could do was activate Biancaviso, Chainlink 1 to tribute summon. And then if I had a Malabarism or a Soiree Operations, I could chain it to have tribute fodder. But otherwise, you can do something like tribute summon Masterpiece using, an Apocalypse or a Disciples. And then in a new chain, if Meteor is still on the field, your opponent cannot respond to anything that happens next. So you can use Apocalypse to pop a monster, Disciples to pop a spell trap, and then still in that chain in response, you can chain Masterpiece effect, banish a continuous spell trap from your grave, pop a third card. So you've gotten rid of 3 things from 1 tribute summon, which is very efficient, and your opponent can't do anything about it usually. And so all of your guys, if you know Clown Crew, will shuffle away all of their super type from the field and graveyard. So Meteor shuffles away all synchros, including itself. Diabolo does all fusions, and Fiends does all the Xyz monsters, which was very powerful because almost all the decks I played were monotype in the extra deck, which meant these got a lot of value. And my opponent had to really respect them once they hit the field. Cool. So I'll start over here. Biancaviso, his tribute summon effect is a soft once per turn. So you can tribute summon on the opponent's turn like 7 times in this deck. You can do like 3 Biancaviso, you can do 2 Soiree Operations, you can do an Apocalypse, you can do a True King's Return. So you are just constantly tribute summoning on the opponent's turn. And then on your turn, you also have Disciples and Heritage to perform additional tribute summons. And that's often how you're tributing your extra deck guys. The other thing I'll say is that Biancaviso, his negate effect, it's an equal to, not up to. So if you tribute 2 monsters, you'll have to negate 2 cards. So make sure your opponent has 2 cards and will have 2 cards at the end of that chain. Otherwise, you might get outplayed if they remove a card from the field. So I often will use his tribute summon to draw 2 first, and then later I'll tribute summon another copy and use that negate effect. And remember that it permanently negates whatever you negate with his effect. Okay, cool. Operatics, because you only have 1, is very fragile, so you want to do your best to protect it. The draw and set is actually super relevant in this deck because you can set an Apocalypse or a True King's Return that you draw. You can even set a Heritage or a Disciples that you draw, because then you can just tribute over them on the opponent's turn. Even if you don't have one of these guys in your hand already, you're pretty likely to draw into one, especially after you've done some deck thinning, so worth it. And then sometimes your opponent will just blow up your back row because they're afraid of it, especially if they're not familiar with the matchup. I had a lot of people getting rid of my back row on accident and then me popping their stuff. Cool. One thing I'll also say about Biancaviso is if you have one on field and have another one in hand, the way to loop him is you use his effect to tribute summon him over him and a Meteor. And then in a new chain, you will use Meteor to grab back the Biancaviso that you just tributed over and put him in your hand. And at this point, you usually have a Soiree Operations in your grave. So you should pretty much never be using Biancaviso to tribute summon himself. You should be using your Soiree Operations in grave. Biancaviso should always be summoning out one of your True Dracos. If you have extra True Dracos in hand, the right thing to get is Dynamite Knight, because then he can place a trap that can tribute summon another guy. If you have traps but no monsters in hand, then obviously you get Majesty Maiden first because she can get a guy, and then you can summon out someone else, whatever you need. They sort of like fill the hole. What else to say here? Flare. People often think of her as just a Rhoda with a discard. You should also think of her as Foolish Burial Goods, because especially going second, it can be really good to use Flare to grab anything, Soiree Operations if you don't have it, and then discard Soiree Operations. You can also do the same with New Face. Grab and discard New Face. That will put New Face up on the field, and it will also put Soiree Operations in the grave for you to perform an extra tribute summon at quick effect speed anytime. So I think Soiree Operations is just main phase. Yeah, it's just main phase. And Soiree Operations is also a soft once per turn. I don't even think it has a once per turn clause. So you can do Soiree Operations in grave as many times as you want. And you should. That's the whole point of the deck. Okay, Rehearsal. The only thing I'll say here is the Graveyard effect to tribute is often how you will tribute the third one of these that you got out on the turn, because you can always get 2 with Malabarism and 1 with Operatics. And ending with Flare on field is actually really strong because her non-targeting Book of Moon is like one of your best forms of disruption on the opponent's turn, especially before they have extra deck monsters out. Cool. Yes, I mentioned this earlier, but both Soiree and Malabarism, it's a little bit dangerous to just use them, let your guys sit on the field in an open game state, and then try to perform a tribute summon, often what you want to do is activate an effect to tribute summon, which we have a lot. We have Biancaviso, we have Soiree Operations, we have Heritage, we have Disciples, we have Return, we have Apocalypse. So activate the effect to perform a tribute summon, and then chain Soiree Operations or Malabarism so that your opponent does not have a chance to remove your guys from the field. That will make your life a lot easier. One other thing to say about Malabarism, doesn't come up with operations as much, but especially if you're playing into a board, sometimes your opponent will have some effects that are main phase locked, so you need to go into your first main phase, bait some effects, and then you still have the Malabarism, but you know that they'll just remove your guys, like with a board nuke or something, if you use Malabarism. So what you can do is go to battle, use Malabarism in the battle phase where they cannot activate their effects, and then you get the chance to take the first action in main phase 2, which is where you can perform your tribute summon, and at that point you can usually chain block and spin back all of their extra deck guys. That is a very clever way to use the phases to your advantage. Because remember, as turn player, you always get to take the first action in every phase. Cool. From there, I will say new face, one thing to just keep an eye out on is it cares about the number of monsters tributed for a tribute summon for its pop effect. So if you are summoning a True Draco by tributing your back row, which is the whole point of the True Dracos, New Face will not trigger to target and destroy a spell trap your opponent controls because you did not tribute a monster. But do know that this is an up to, and you can also target your own cards with New Face. So you can use New Face to clear a Draco Awakening that's in your way. You can use it to pop one of these that have effects when they're sent to the graveyard. So this has a lot of utility specifically in this build. And in a pinch, you can just tribute it away with one of your guys. Just know that it won't reset itself to the field because it has to be sent to the graveyard from anywhere else except the field. Cool. Diagram. One thing to know about Diagram is that it can pop a New Face in hand because it can pop any card, which will trigger New Face to put itself face up on the field. That's actually a great use of Diagram. Another thing you might want to do is set like an Apocalypse or something that's going to have an effect when it's sent from the field to the graveyard, and that will get you where you need to go. And do note that Diagram can search like any of your spell traps or your monsters, so it can get you wherever you need to go. I wish it were not so expensive because it's also soft once per turn, so if you had multiple copies, you'd be able to use multiple copies, but we can't here. I'll also know that Draco Awakening is not true Draco Awakening, so it's not searchable, which is why we're playing 3. It also has an interesting loop with Apocalypse, because Apocalypse can target another True Draco or True King card we control and destroy it. If you destroy a monster, that will trigger Awakening, where you can put the True Draco monster back into your back row as a continuous spell. And then if you keep popping with Apocalypse, you can keep doing Awakening to put it back. Because anytime they are destroyed by battle or card effect, you can recycle them in that way, which ideally is used for either Apocalypse or for tribute summoning some more. Cool. And then Masterpiece, one thing to say here, which you may know already, is that he's unaffected by all card effects of this type that he tributed. So if we tribute a monster, he will be unaffected by our monster effects, which is bad if we are trying to go to battle and kill people with double piercing damage, which is usually how you end games. It's how I ended a lot of games yesterday. You just have some number of tribute summoned monsters on the field. You have face down monsters on your opponent's field, usually with flares, how you flip them. And then you do double piercing with Diabolo, and you pump up your guys with some number of fiends. But if this was summoned with a monster, these do not work on him. So keep that in mind. It's actually better to summon him with just back row sometimes to finish out games. Okay, so that is all I'm gonna say about this for now. And then I will jump over and show you a fully fleshed out deck list with a side deck that I think you could play at an event. All right, and as promised, I wanted to show you the deck list that we did just now, just so you can see it all at once. If you wanted to copy it, you'll see it is actually exactly 96 points. This was the one I won with yesterday. You'll see that it is not full. There's no side, and the extra deck is not full because we did not have enough time to do that. But don't worry, I have also created for you a full version. So all of these cards are the same as the previous one up until here. And here's where I've made some changes. So enemy controller, I've put in the main because that is useful both going first and going second. It's another way to tribute your guys at quick effect speed. And it's a really strong card for stealing your opponent's monsters. Also Lord of the Heavenly Prison. you can use either effect to great utility. You can either, if you're going first, use its hand effect to reveal and protect your back row so that you're not forced to use them before you want to use them. And then you can also use the effect where you can, set a normal or continuous spell and then flip it and then use it to summon itself out of the hand if for some reason you need tribute fodder. And then on your opponent's turn, if you don't have a true Draco in hand to tribute summon off of Biancaviso, in a pinch you can tribute summon the Lord of the Heavenly Prison. Other things you'll see here in the side deck, I still have the Kaiju package, and then for going first, also sphere mode. It's probably a little sacky to do this because you'll need to have some other way to tribute summon your clown. Like you'd need to be able to get that engraved, so not really worth it probably. You'd probably be better off with another Kaiju or another interrupted Kaiju slumber. These are for going first, so often you're not really worried about anything except like Haymaker board breakers. So if they try to use Lightning Storm, if they try to use Duster, if they try to use Raigeki, you actually don't really care about Raigeki. But other stuff you can use Blizzard to protect yourself, and it is 0 points. So think of it like a really budget judgment. And then other things I have are Double Cyclone. I was thinking about things that we can use with our True Draco spells and traps because we are placing a lot of them face up on the field with these guys. And this gives you something to do with them. It also lets you use the effects sort of as you're playing into a board. I did put in 3 Swords of Concealing Light. The way that I was killing people yesterday when I was playing them was by doing Diabolo and Fiends with Biancaviso into double piercing. And if they had a 0 defense monster, that was a pretty good way to do it. And this is really good because there's no link monsters in Genesys, so pretty much everything will be hit by this. Things that can't be targeted, you don't care. Things that can't be destroyed, you don't care. You just turn it face down. The one thing to know is that you can't shuffle it back if it is face down, but usually you don't care about that once you've gotten rid of the threats. And then finally, Ultimate Slayer. And there's a bunch of free targets, which I will tell you now. Enigmaster Packbit is a great target. And a good thing to discard off of Packbit would be your new face, because you can just place it face up, and extra soiree operations. So you can extra tribute summon, or like an extra continuous spell or something that you can shuffle back either with Disciples or banish with Masterpiece. Both of these Fossil Fusions are free. This one destroys a spell trap. This one destroys a monster. And Valon is also free, and it can destroy a set card on the field, a face down card on the field, if it is sent to the graveyard. So if you have this and this, you can Swords of Concealing Light, turn everything face down, and then you can Ultimate Slayer if for some reason something is still face up. Send Valon. Valon can then trigger to pop either back row or one of their set monsters. Otherwise, I think that you could have great success with this in Genesys. I have played this deck at least once in Advanced, and I will say, like, the deck's biggest enemies are Droll, Ash, especially on Malabarism, Called By got me today, then some other common hand traps that are just a little too expensive to play here. So I will say Genesys is where this shines. You can really do a lot of very powerful things and play mostly uninterrupted with your engine and outgrind pretty much every deck in the format. So would highly recommend. If you have any questions, feel free to drop into my Discord. I'll also place these deck lists there if you want to just download them directly from there. Otherwise, let me show you one replay that I think will be interesting. And I will add a little bit of commentary, but otherwise I will just let you watch. So if you have a True Draco and you have one of your spells, it is good to get them on the field before you do anything else so that you can punish your opponent for activating a card. If they would have responded to any of this stuff, we could have got ourselves another spell, which then we could have used to draw. This is standard stuff. Malabarism. Contributing this over those 2 is how you want to do your first every turn if you can. And you always want to chain block the clown so that you can draw. Radix. And in this situation, I started summoning a Flare because that way we can have more interruption on our opponent's turn. So we have a set enemy controller and a set soiree operations. This just doesn't work cast a tribute, one of these True Dracos in our hand. Here I thought this might stop them, so I used enemy controller early to both steal a monster and book a monster. Attributing Flare is really strong. Cycle's Light sort of took me by surprise. You don't see that every day. And that's our classic. Activate Bianca Viso, and then chain something with some other guys from extra deck. This light is unaffected by monster effects because we tributed a monster, which will be relevant in 1 second. They try to negate Masterpiece, but Masterpiece is unaffected, so that did not work. Soiree Operations is on its return in the graveyard, good to know. We get another one for next turn, that will give us 5 summons from the extra deck or deck next turn. They're going to summon some Goaties back, but it doesn't really matter because we can contest one with Masterpiece. I actually didn't see them banish the Schiff earlier, but because they did that, we are going to activate this Malabrism at once, otherwise we can get to summon, or we get to chain. From here, we distribute summon, and then it's pretty easy to clean it up. Keith has 1500 defense, so it's a little bit hard to OTK from here, but we could Flare, turn that Snobios face down, and then we could do double piercing to win. So that is that. I really like this deck. I think it's super fun and interesting. I'm not playing Floodgates because I think they are cringe. I think you can do enough interaction if you use your brain power to sort of use these Haymaker extra deck cards to shuffle away your opponent's boss monsters and then pick away at everything else with some of your other cards. So let me know in Discord or in the comments below what you think about this, if you've tried it, if you have other ideas. Would love to brainstorm with you. As always, thanks for stopping by, and give me a like, a comment, or a subscribe if you are feeling so generous. Thanks. Bye.